Chicago. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
It's time now for the Casey Ingram Show on WSTU. The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not necessarily those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time to call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788, 220-WSTU. And now, here's Casey Ingram.
Good morning. I'm coming to you a little bit early here on Facebook Live. It's Monday, and for those of you tuning in on Wednesday, this show is pre-recorded because we have Senator Harrell here in the studio, and she's very gracious. She just came back from special session in Tallahassee. She has a lot of things that she has lined up, had a scheduling conflict on Wednesday, and thankfully you had some time to come in this morning so we could pre-record this show and have some updates about what has been going on in Tallahassee with the special session.
Yeah,
so
well,
welcome again.
It's as always, Casey, it is always a delight to be here with you. And anytime I can make it happen, I am so happy to do it. You are so on target in bringing the news and current events and things that are very, very important to all your listeners. So thank you for hosting me.
It's always my pleasure. And Senator Harrell's right here in the WSTU building, Philip Deberard building. So your office is right here. So
very long
we can
commute.
grab you. We do.
Very long commute.
Exactly.
Down the elevator.
Exactly.
Or stairs, better.
Depends if you want to exercise or not. But anyways, before we get into the show today, we have a lot of wonderful updates. I want to thank my sponsors, and the first one is the best kept secret here in Martin County, and that is the Fish House Art Center. You can come by boat, car, stroll the boardwalk, explore what the best kept secret has to offer. They have a boardwalk, not a boardwalk, but a boardwalk that features local artists, an Airbnb, art gallery, boat charters, marina, and a craft and creamery. Something truly for the whole family. There's craft beers, wine, and 24 flavors of ice cream. You can rent paddle boards, you can come by boat and enjoy the marina, you can rent bikes, just really something for everybody. So check that out, and you can go online, fishhouseartcenter.com, if you want to check out the area before you head on down, and that's in the pocket in Port Salerno. Secondly, I know hurricane season's right around the corner, folks, and I have to say, now's the time to secure a safe harborage for your boat. Once a hurricane is named and on its way, I pretty much can tell you it's going to be difficult, if you're lucky at all, to find a place to keep your boat. One of the best places to do that is Indiantown Marina. They are one of South Florida's best boat storage facilities. It's located inland on the Okeechobee Waterway and a very, very well-protected hurricane hull. And not only that, it's a do-it-yourself boatyard or full-service boatyard. So great time to get anything done on your boat, whether you want to do it yourself or hire a professional. To give them a call, give them a ring at 772-631-3272, 631-3272. Reserve that hurricane spot and check out what else they have to offer. And lastly, COVID, unexpected expenses, illnesses. There are many issues that can cause your successful business to slump deep into the red. We are here to help, and we only get paid if we provide you a workout. Debt restructuring is complicated, and we are the negotiator between you and your creditors. Commercial Mortgage has been in the industry of small balance corporate finance since 2003. Our focus is on challenging corporate foreclosures, debt restructures, equity, and new debt solutions. These issues are often not easy to understand when you run a business and are faced with multifaceted debt challenges that include legal actions on various fronts. That's where we come in. We never charge a front for your deposit. We are only paid if we successfully provide you a debt workout. Areas of expertise include hotels, marinas, office buildings, restaurants, apartments, multifamily, condos, golf courses, home builders, and land development, including new and repurposed developments. Give Commercial Mortgage a call at 772-872-6099, 872-6099, or visit them online, commercialmortgagellc.com. Senator Harrell, there has been so much that has happened since you were in the studio, and we ran out of time last time. So
Yes, we did.
there's so many updates that happened during session and now with the special session. So, tell us a little bit about what was this last special session about?
Well, it was really about three things. There were three bills that were heard, and it started last week on Tuesday, following Easter. And it really was dealing with the veto of the governor's veto of our congressional maps. As you know, every 10 years we go through redistricting. And the Senate and the House maps are strictly the purview of the Senate and the House. And we determine our maps, and they are reviewed by the court. They can be challenged, but there is no governor's veto involved in that. However, under the U.S. Constitution and our state constitution, the congressional map is subject to the governor's veto.
Okay.
And as you may remember, we passed what we felt was a very constitutional map back during session. And right at the end of session, the House and the Senate came together and we gave two maps to the governor, the primary map and then a secondary map. So if he vetoed the primary map, there would be a secondary map that he could also consider.
Okay.
So unfortunately, he vetoed the whole package. And we must have a congressional map. We
Right.
have to do this. This is every 10 years. This is a primary responsibility.
And Senator Harrell, we gained a congressional seat too, correct?
Correct. We gained a congressional seat. We have 28 congressional seats. And we've had huge growth in the Orlando area, not so much growth in Miami
Interesting.
and South Florida. But with Hurricane Marie in Puerto Rico, we had a very large increase in people coming from Puerto Rico
That's right.
after the hurricane and staying, which is wonderful. We love that when people come to Florida, enjoy our wonderful environment.
100%.
And come. In fact, we have 1,000 people a day doing
Yes,
that.
that's right. We do.
So we had to go through the redistricting process. And when the House and the Senate did that, and we had expert staff, I sat on the Congressional committee that designed the map. And we had expert staff, we had tremendous legal staff, and we had to look at the U.S. Constitution, the Voting Rights Act of 1965. We had to look at the Fair Districts Act that was passed by the Florida voters in 2010, which amended our Constitution to put Tier 1 and Tier 2 mandates in place as when we redistrict.
What do you mean by Tier 1 and Tier 2 mandates?
There are Tier 1 mandates which deal with diminishment and making sure that we have the correct percentage of minority districts.
Okay.
And then Tier 2 is really looking at how those maps are drawn and making sure you keep cities whole if possible, counties whole if possible, and that you follow that your maps are compact, contiguous. All districts are contiguous. There's no little lines going out this way or going out that way. And that you are as compact as either spherical or square or whatever as possible. And you get a score on about 4 different criteria on compactness as to how that is done. And then you also have to follow geographical boundaries, lakes, rivers, streams, or major arteries and roadways. County lines, city lines, roadways, but it has to be very carefully done.
It sounds a little bit complicated. Do you have a computer program that maybe helps give you some ideas of some districts?
An amazing computer program. And then to even complicate it more, you can only deviate by one person.
Oh my goodness, that's
very
that's nothing when
difficult.
you're talking about.
We had
district.
amazing staff, and the analytics that go into doing this are so significant that truly our staff are the ones that drew the maps with our guidance. We gave them very specific guidance. In 2010, our maps were contested and went to court. There were 3 special sessions dealing with that as the court refused to accept our maps.
Okay.
So you've got 3 levels. You've got the House and Senate must agree on a map and pass a map and send it to the governor. The governor then can veto it or sign it. If he vetoes it, it goes back to the House and Senate. If he signs it, then it goes to the court, and there are many court challenges. So in 2010, our maps were signed by the governor. They went to court after different challenges, and the court overrode the maps twice, and then the third time actually drew the map.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And took the map that had been, and individuals can present maps.
Okay.
And in the court process, the League of Women Voters and the Democrat majority office actually submitted the map. And the court accepted that map. And with it, set some standards in the decree that they issued when they accepted that map. And passed the map that the League of Women
So the
Voters
court
drew.
ultimately decided
So the court ultimately
the districts
decided,
last time.
and that's exactly what will happen this time.
Okay.
The court will ultimately decide. So after the governor vetoed our maps, we were called into special session, and rather than go through this exercise again, we had the governor present a map to us. And the leadership worked with the governor's office to present that map. And we had our staff, our expert staff, and our attorneys go through it very, very carefully to make sure that we were meeting all requirements. And the governor felt that the map we had drawn, and in fact the decree of the state court in 2016, had really overstepped the bounds of the U.S. Constitution and the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and was actually unconstitutional. So we have now passed a map that the governor presented to us, working with him. So it wasn't just the governor. But,
Okay.
And it really maintains a good core of what our original map was. I think 10 of the districts are exactly the same. And the districts in our area in particular are exactly as we had presented them.
Okay. How did they
So-
change? They changed slightly from what they are as we know them today.
Okay, as well, for us, District 18 becomes, I think, District 21.
Okay.
And it has Alla Martin, Alla St. Lucie, and the lines are slightly different in Palm Beach County.
Okay.
But it's essentially very,
Pretty
very
much.
similar to the same map.
New number, pretty similar.
New
district.
number, quite similar.
Okay.
So, as this map that we did vote on and we did pass now changes the northeast part of the state.
Okay.
Previously, we had, in the map we had done in the Senate, we had continued with the district that the court had put in place in 2016 that goes from Jacksonville all the way over to west of Tallahassee.
Okay.
And this was a very long, meandering district, and it's an African American access district. And we followed the map, essentially, that the court had established.
Okay.
And the governor's contention is that the requirement that we do not diminishment was a standard. The African American population was actually unconstitutional because we had to expand that because in the Jacksonville area, there are more people who've moved in there, and the actual minority access, it should not be a minority access district because now there is no longer 50% minority.
That's the definition of excess?
Yes.
Okay.
Diminishment.
Okay.
And we followed the standard of of making sure we did not diminish any district. So
Okay.
we expanded it to have a more than 50% African American population. And that is something that will go to court.
Okay.
You know, that has
Because
to
you
be
can't please
determined.
everybody, and it always has to. Somebody's
And-
always going to oppose it for some
Right.
reason or
And
another.
there are you could draw a map a million ways, you know?
Right.
Well, but we are so constricted in the requirements that are put on us that are so very specific. And the governor's contention is that diminishment requirement, or that we do not diminish any already minority access district,
Okay.
is unconstitutional in view of the federal law. And federal law, as you know, trumps state law. And there's also a district in the Orlando area that is similar in a Hispanic area. So you've got two districts that are kind of in contention that really created the whole issue.
Okay.
And we'll see where the court goes.
That's right.
know.
That's right. What do you think the timeline's going to be on that?
You know, there's already been a challenge to it. We passed it. I think the governor signed it on Friday, and there's already a challenge.
Okay.
So it will go immediately to the courts, I am sure.
Of course. Okay. Here we go again. So
So there's three levels of government play a role in this.
does this redistricting, does it change the makeup of our congressional representatives typically? I mean, you never know if a Republican or Democrat's going to be elected, but is there any, do they foresee changing the district so much that it's going to heavily lean one way or the other?
One of the requirements under the Fair Districts Act is that we cannot look at those demographics. Republican, Democrat, we cannot consider that in drawing the map. And the governor's map draw presented before the committee that I sit on, and he specifically stated that they did not look at any registrations at all when they drew the map.
So, folks, we're speaking with Senator Harrell. This show is pre-recorded if you're listening to this on Wednesday, but today is Monday, and she's here in the studio live. I'm watching Facebook Live if you have a question or comment. Senator Harrell, what you just said surprised me because the headlines say something different in the paper. It looks like they're trying to, set districts up to be more Republican, and you said you can't even look at that.
You cannot, unless you are looking at a minority access district. At that point, you have to look at what is called the voting age population in Black or Hispanic, and HVAP, BVAP. You have to look at that to make sure that you are having an equal percentage of districts that are that a minority can elect a member of their choice. So you have to make sure if we have 14, 15% African American, 14 or 15% of our districts have to be minority majority.
Okay.
And the same way with Hispanic, we're about 18%, 19% Hispanic. So that number of districts, percentage of districts, have to be at that at that demographic. At that point, to analyze that, you may look at voting history.
Okay.
And how they voted in primaries. And that is a key element only in districts where you have to create the minority access districts.
This is excellent. Thank you so much for explaining that. Those of us that are not elected officials and we don't go to Tallahassee, this is something we don't understand how it's done. So this has been a very good explanation. Of course, it's something we're going to watch and see how it all plays out and what the court ultimately decides our new districts will look like. What about the state? I know that one that is approved, the state Senate and representative districts. How have they changed for us here on the Treasure Coast?
Oh, major change on the Treasure Coast. My current District 25, for instance, is all of Martin, all of St. Lucie, and about a little bit of Palm Beach County. 8% of the district or so is Palm Beach County, and it's the western part out to Pahokee.
Okay.
And a small population, but part of large geographic area out in the western part. Jupiter Farms, that
Oh,
area.
okay.
Over to Pahokee, the lake.
Okay.
It now moves significantly south because, as I said, we have had huge growth in Orlando, and that has pushed everything south.
Okay.
So we wind up losing 3/4 of St. Lucie County.
Oh, my gosh.
In District 25. And for me, that is such a loss. I mean,
Right.
I've represented St. Lucie County for 20 years.
Yes.
I'm so disappointed.
You were in the House of Representatives previous to this.
Yes, I was in the House of Representatives previous to this, representing 3/4 of the
Right.
district was St. Lucie County. Wow. So this is, unfortunate for
change.
me.
Right.
But in my heart, I will always represent St. Lucie County.
Of course.
It will be primo for me, always. And so I have Martin County line to US 1,
Okay.
north on US 1 to Crosstown Parkway.
Okay.
No, pardon me. North on US 1 to Port St. Lucie Boulevard.
Okay.
Out Port St. Lucie Boulevard to the Turnpike.
Okay.
North on the Turnpike to Crosstown.
Okay.
Crosstown over to Glades Road.
Okay.
And then
It does change.
south, I go all of Martin. Palm Beach, I go all the way down to Palm Beach Gardens Boulevard.
Okay.
PGA Boulevard.
Okay.
Over to, I believe it's Military Trail.
Okay.
And then south to Southern.
Wow.
And
Okay.
then go southern over to the lake.
That is a really big change in itself.
Big change.
I know you had northern Palm Beach County previously, but it didn't quite go that far into it.
Right.
What about our House of Representatives seats?
Our House seats, Representative Oberdorf's district, will be mostly north into St. Lucie County,
Okay.
into Port St. Lucie. Representative Snyder will have most of this county,
Okay,
of
Martin.
Martin County.
Okay.
And the Oberdorf district will be Jensen Beach, North River Shores, Palm City.
It's a lot of population change, I think, in there because his district used to be much larger.
Yes, and it goes north
Okay.
and goes all the way up, I believe, to Crosstown.
Okay.
So includes probably 2/3 of the district is now St. Lucie County.
Wow, that is a big change for that as well.
And then Representative Trabolsi will have the rest of St. Lucie County.
Okay. Okay.
So in order to keep counties whole as much as possible, we used to have Representative Aaron Grawl was part of it, as well as let me see, I can't remember. A teeny part of it went with the Okeechobee district.
Okay.
Out in the west. Lots of cows out there.
And
Not many people.
there truly are. I go from one side of the state to the other, and there's a lot of cattle in between.
Yes, a lot of cattle in between. But now there will be truly just 2 representatives in St. Lucie County instead of 4.
That sounds like a good thing to consolidate.
Yes, it consolidates the district. You're not all cut up in little pieces. And also, we will have a new senator for most of St. Lucie County.
I
And
was going to say there was a really big new district there, and I think
Yes.
Representative Grawl is one of the
yes,
people that is running for that new
Representative
seat.
Aaron Grawl is running for that. And that district will be most of St. Lucie County, Indian River County, go out to Okeechobee, Hardy, and Hendry counties.
Okay. It's a
So-
large district.
It'll be a large district because, of course, as you go further west, you have less density
Right.
of population.
Right. Land mass, but not as much people.
Correct.
Well, thank you for that update. And, there's a lot of other things that are happening up in Tallahassee. And, folks, we're all talking about it. It's the parental right bill versus Disney. Can you tell us what's going on there, Senator Harrell?
Yes. And this was Senate Bill 4 that really dealt with this issue. And I think the parental rights bill kind of brought attention to some privileges that Disney has had, and nobody really looked at this, and it kind of opened eyes to what exactly was going on there. And I've been such a Disney fan for so many years. In fact, I remember buying stock in Disney back when this all was happening in 1967, and they were starting
good time.
to look at. It's the first stock my husband and I ever bought
Oh, wow.
in 1967 because they were looking to come to Florida.
Oh, my goodness.
And we were so excited about it. A friend of ours had just become a stockbroker, and we spent $100. He was a resident. I was substitute teaching, working on graduate studies, and we had no money, and we had $100. We bought Disney stock.
That you guys were
Because
smart.
because they were coming to Florida.
Right.
And as it turns out, part of that was this very special privilege that they got in the Reedy Creek district, the special district.
Tell us about what that means,
And
please.
we have lots of special districts in the state of Florida. In fact, we have in St. Lucie County, we have a special district for our fire department,
Okay.
a fire district. In Port St. Lucie, we have in St. Lucie West a water and sewer district.
Okay.
We have all CRAs are special districts.
Okay.
We have all kinds of special districts, but they are reviewed on a pretty regular basis. They're enacted by the legislature. They're creatures of the legislature.
Okay.
Empowerment. So they are in fact, I think about 5 years ago, we said every district should be reviewed. We put sunsets now. We are
That makes
required to
sense.
put sunsets in. This district hasn't been reviewed since it was established in 1967.
Wow, and Disney opened in 71. So
Yes.
give folks an idea how long this has been
Yes.
enacted.
So there was a look at this, and when you look at what they can do, and the bill said any district that has been in existence prior to the Constitution of 1968, which is
Okay.
our current Constitution,
Okay.
must be reviewed and will be sunsetted next year. Gives us a whole year. They are automatically sunset if not renewed.
Okay.
And I believe there are 5 or 6 districts. Two in, I think there are 2 in the northwest part of the Panhandle area. There are 2 in, I think, Bradford County and 1 in Broward County.
Okay.
So it's not just Disney. It says any district who has been in existence prior to the Constitution of 1968 and hasn't been renewed must automatically sunsets a year from now.
Okay.
So that gives a year to review the powers that they have.
Okay.
Now, most of the districts in this are water districts. But Disney is very different.
It is very different.
They have the ability to tax. They have the ability to actually build a nuclear power plant.
Wow.
They have the ability to build an airport. They can actually use eminent domain outside their area to bring people into their area.
Okay.
They have very significant tax benefits as well. So what the bill says is that all these districts will be cease to exist, will be sunsetted, unless they are renewed or revised. So we have a year now to go back and look at these special privileges that every one of these districts has and say, are they serving a public good? Is there a public interest here? And as we review several years ago, as I said, when we kind of started this whole process of reviewing special districts, we wanted to make sure one of the criteria is they serve a public good. They serve the public interest to be there, and not a special district that is only beneficial to a corporation.
Mm-hmm. I think this is a wonderful thing to look at, and this really came around with the parental rights bill. And personally, this bill, and I'd like you to go into a little bit more, Senator Harrell. But the last time you were in the studio, you said the word "gay" does not appear in this bill whatsoever. Students can go to their teacher and still talk about any issue they may have. It prevents them from instructing, having a lesson plan.
Yes, the whole parental rights bill is certainly about
K through 3.
K through 3, parental control, parental rights, and it's very clear. It's about instruction in the classroom. Kids ask questions all the time.
That's right.
6-year-olds are little quiz boxes. They're
are.
constantly asking questions.
They are. They're absorbing a lot.
They
and
are
asking
just
questions.
little
They hear
sponges.
something.
They hear something.
do.
They want to know about it.
That's right.
They're
That's
little
right.
sponges. So there's nothing that precludes a teacher from answering questions very honestly and forthrightly. There's no question about conversations among students or anything of
We're going
that
to a
sort.
school counselor.
Going to a school counselor. There's nothing of that in the bill. What it says is there will be no education dealing in any kind of sexual context, sexual orientation, gender identity, anything of that sort, K through 3. And following that, it must be age appropriate.
Folks, this is like 5 to 8 year olds, and this bill has caused so much controversy. And one of the things is Disney's opposing this bill. And personally, I go to Disney every summer with my daughter, and I've had a lot of fun there. And Disney movies, you name it, I pay for their entertainment, not for their political views. And this has upset me so much. I'll be going to Universal this summer. That's my own personal opinion. People can do whatever they want, but I know there's a lot of parents out there that feel the same way I do. I've canceled my Disney apps. I've canceled Disney Plus on TV. I don't support their agenda. I want them to entertain.
Yes, I was always such a big fan of Disney. My kids grew up at Disney. In fact, my oldest daughter at 3, my mother-in-law took her to Disney.
Right.
That was the big thing.
It is. It's here in our backyard. Let's talk about this a little bit more. The Reedy Creek budget's about $114 million. The outstanding bond debt is $717 million. You see in the headlines, oh my gosh, the 2 taxpayers in the 2 counties up there where Disney resides are going to be responsible for this debt. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I very much can. We have a year to look at this very carefully. And I can tell you, as a fiscal conservative, the last thing we are going to do is allow taxpayers to absorb this debt. We are not going to raise taxes, period. End of story. I can guarantee that's not going to happen. So as we look at this over this next year and restructure this, how do we do this to make sure that we have the public good that that special districts should have, and also not increase taxes on anybody? And I think that conversation is going to happen in depth this next session. And it'll be very, very important that we do that. We also, there also, with debt comes assets.
Right.
The debt is against an asset. So that will all be considered as well.
And I'm sure there's a lot of intricacies involved with their I don't know if I want to call it a tax exemption, but their special district. There's a lot of intricacies with the special district. Do the counties have any say-so if that district was to be changed or removed? Are the counties able to, levy their own taxes? Because they had tax exemptions, Disney did, that would be removed if that special district was removed.
The counties that the 2 sections of the district, the Reedy Creek district, reside in, would have complete control. They would be able to make decisions that it was in their best interest.
This is going to be very interesting moving forward. And, everybody knows I'm conservative, I'm Republican, I'm not divisive, but boy, am I glad we have Governor DeSantis at the helm right now. There's been a lot of issues in the last couple of years, and, he's steadfast and protecting to me, what's my conservative values. Again, I just want to be entertained when I go to Disney. I don't want to politics and have agendas or
well,
anything.
I love Mickey Mouse.
I
Mickey
know.
Mouse should be having
Mickey
fun.
and Minnie and
Mickey,
the
Minnie,
group.
let's have some fun.
100%. So there's another special session coming up,
Yes,
Senator Harrell.
another one.
And this is a hot topic for a lot of people, though. Everybody,
for me personally.
Yeah, I know. Has
I got my
anybody
bill.
looked at their property insurance bills and their home insurance bills? They've went up a lot. Is there anything that the legislature is going to be able to do?
Well, the Senate had a bill that we felt took some steps in the right
With
direction.
1728, is that right?
2 years ago, we did, or I guess a year ago, we did some major changes. And we started really clamping down a lot of the frivolous lawsuits and things of that sort that were happening and that were driving insurance prices up. This year, our bill, the Senate bill, really looked at the big scam that we see going on in the roofing domain. And it happened to my neighbor, where someone came after a big thunderstorm, lightning storm, and you know how we get those.
That's right.
Came in and said, your roof needs replacing. You let me do this inspection, and we have a public adjuster we're going to work with, and we can make sure your insurance company pays for a new roof for you.
I've had them come to our home as well, and our business, as a matter of fact. So that's exactly what they try to do, is put this on your insurance company by claiming
And
the damage.
insurance is insurance for catastrophic events.
Right.
It is not a warranty on your roof
For natural
for
wear and
natural
tear.
wear and tear and depreciation.
100%.
That is not what
No, it costs us all more, which it is now
and
because
that's
of this.
exactly what has happened. It has been passed on, and then to the consumer, the property owner, in your insurance policy and your cost.
right.
So we had this going on a few years ago in other arenas and in sinkholes over on the West Coast area, and we had to step in and do some very strict restrictions on when a sinkhole is really creating the problem and not just a manufactured problem.
Right, right.
So I think the bill we had this year really took a step in that right direction.
Why did it die, do you know?
Well, it's a little bit of conflict between the House and the Senate. Speaker Sprowls felt that we didn't have adequate time to see the impact of the legislation we did last year. So he did not want to do anything this session, and our bill just died over there.
Okay.
Maybe it made one or two committees, I don't know that, but it never came to the floor. So I think this has now pushed the issue with the governor announcing that he's calling a special session. We don't have the dates yet. We're thinking the week of the 23rd, but that's not confirmed yet.
Okay. Okay.
But, we've got to deal with this. We really have to.
We do. I've heard a lot of people complaining, and it is very tough on people to have their insurance rates. They might be 30 to 100% double than what they were, and it's a huge increase.
We are having actually insurance companies go into receivership because they don't have the backup, the assets, in order to cover
Well, they're not
the
supposed
projected
to be covering these
costs.
kind of things.
Yeah.
I mean, when this particular agent came to us, we told him, get lost. This is, this is wear and tear. This particular roof is over 20 years old. It's like, don't tell me the rust hole up there is from,
Yes.
hail. It's not. So, but, there is that industry out there where people like, free things, and
They like
again,
free
at the
things,
end, we're
and
all paying for it now.
There's no free lunch.
There is.
Somebody has to pay for it. You get a free roof, somebody else is paying for it.
Oh boy, Senator Harrell, we can talk on and on about that. There's nothing free, is there?
There is nothing free. No free lunch around here,
Nope,
let me
nope.
tell you.
If you have
Somebody
a college,
pays for it.
That's right. You're getting your college bills paid off. Somebody's paying for it. It's not free.
It is not free.
So that's really something. So tell us a little bit more. We have some more time here. I think we got about 15 minutes. And last time we did not have time to cover everything that happened in session. I know one thing right now. I heard Pompano Park. It's a racehorse track is closing down. I think the gambling laws have changed. Can you give us some insight on what's going on there?
Yes. Several years ago, we changed, and I have to remember, this is 2 or 3 years ago, we changed some of the racing laws in order to make sure that we only had, I believe it was thoroughbred racing in the state of Florida. So some of the tracks that did quarter horse racing and things of that sort really are being phased out. As you know, we had a constitutional amendment on greyhounds as well, and we have eliminated greyhound racing in the state of Florida. Racing, we want to make sure, again, that animals are well taken care of and that everything is done very carefully and very legitimately. So, yes, there are different parks that will be closing as we move forward with this. And it all stems back to this whole conversation about the greyhound and eliminating greyhound racing.
Okay. Are there going to be increases in other gambling establishments, casinos, what have you?
Well, of course, the casino question is always out there.
Yes.
And we've had various constitutional amendments to expand gambling in the state of Florida. And I think any further expansion, we did do a major bill with the Seminoles last year, or maybe it was the year before, when we really revamped our agreement with the Seminoles and how they have a very specific right as an independent nation
Right.
to do what they choose to do on their land. And, of course, we do have the Hard Rock Cafe just south of us. We do have, I believe, over Brighton, in the Brighton area, another casino
Right.
that is run by the Seminoles. So, and, of course, in Tampa, you have the Hard Rock Cafe. And
Right.
you've got whole variety of them in the state of Florida, and that is perfectly within their constitutional rights to do that. In order for us to negotiate with them and set limits on what they can do, we have to give them something in return. So that came down to sports betting.
Okay.
And we came to an agreement with them. And, you can go to a track area and do sports betting.
Okay.
And this all came down to doing it on your phone and apps and things of that for betting on the Gators versus the Seminoles.
Okay.
Or, whatever sports betting you want to do. So we came to some compromise with the Seminoles, and we gave them the rights to control that, to be in charge of that.
Okay.
But they can contract out to other facilities, former dog tracks, for instance, and you can do sports betting there.
Okay.
And they run it. So the whole thing right now is in court.
Okay. Seems like anything controversial is always going to end up in court. So if everybody doesn't agree.
I think the federal government, had to approve what we did. Now, I'm not quite sure where it all is, but I know it's in litigation at this point.
Okay. As we're winding down the time here, again, we're speaking with Senator Gayle Harrell. She's in the studio. It's Monday. We're live on Facebook, but this is going to be pre-recorded on Wednesday because she has a conflicting schedule that she wasn't able to be here. So, again, thank you for coming here today because I know this isn't my normal time, but this is wonderful. There's so many updates. There are a couple issues we always talk about, Senator Harrell, and they're very important to you and they're very important to us, and that is the water issues and educational issues. Yes. So give us probably what you feel the most important updates from session this past year, and we'll start with water.
Oh, yes, my favorite topic.
Yes.
I am so excited about our budget and what we are doing in really, really getting down to infrastructure and what we are doing to stop the releases from Lake Okeechobee. For
Amen.
us here on the Treasure Coast, number one issue. And in 2015, I passed Legacy Florida, which established a guaranteed funding source. It was Amendment 1 money, at least $200 million.
I was going to say it's a large funding source, too.
A large funding. 25% of all the money collected from Amendment 1, which is dock stamps, has to go to Everglades restoration with emphasis on stopping the releases.
I'll stop you for 1 second because as you say that, folks, just take 1 second to think about how much real estate values went up this year. They have, I don't even know the percentage, but it's incredible. There's could be 50% in some cases, but think what that does to the dock stamps. I mean, homes are being sold sight unseen. I mean, homes in my neighborhood, all of a sudden, they've went up $400,000. It's like, are you kidding me?
Have you been on Zillow lately
Yes.
and checked the value of your house? Oh, my God.
But think of all the money that's going to be coming
But
into
who's
this
gonna buy a
program
house
now.
if you sell it?
That's right.
Where you gonna go?
That's my problem. It's like, sure, I'd love to sell it, but then where am I going to move?
I'm moving.
I end up staying right where I'm at as well. But people are selling and people are buying, and values have went up tremendously, and 25% of those dock stamps are going into this to help our water.
Exactly. 25% of that money is going into helping comprehensive Everglades restoration with priority given to stopping the releases from Lake Okeechobee.
Yes.
Key. This year, in addition to that, we have put even more money into it. Totally $885 million.
Wow.
Almost $1 billion is going into comprehensive Everglades restoration.
Do you know any projects that are specifically earmarked for it?
Well, of course, C40. We finished C44.
Yes.
But the EAA, $64 million is going to the EAA, and that is guaranteed. And everything, we have storage north of the lake. We have storage south of the lake. We're just about finishing remeanderizing the Kissimmee River.
Another
my own
very
word.
important. Yeah, I like that word, remeanderizing. That should come up on a wiki dictionary now.
Yes, we have put that in. And we're really putting the emphasis on the environment. When I say, and we also put additional money into our beaches. Normally, we put $65 million into beach restoration, which actually St. Lucie County is going to get a big chunk of that for what they're doing out on South Hutchison Island.
Do you mean moving the sewer plant or something else?
No, that's not. Sewer plant is a different topic.
Okay.
that is another area that we have put in a huge chunk into looking at our sewer plants and making sure that we're not having these releases into our waterways of sewage. What a disaster that is.
Well, Senator Harrell, even when there's not discharges, I know right here in our own St. Lucie River, every year there are bacterial warnings because of the bacteria that's in the water. And it's not from the discharges, it's from runoff. It's from our septic tanks that are lining our waterways.
Another huge chunk into septic to sewer conversion.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is good news.
Big trust fund on septic to sewer conversion. So I think when you look at the dollars we're putting into the environment and into water specifically, I think we're going to be so happy to see the end results. Now, people have to understand, you put the dollars in today, the improvement doesn't happen tomorrow.
Right.
It takes time to build infrastructure. So dollars today result in improvements in 5 years, for the most part, 3 to 5 years. And you've got to be patient and look at where we've come from and where we're going. And the fact that the state has stepped up to the plate and put in so much into this, we need to put the pressure on our federal partners, especially when it comes to the Everglades.
100%.
Because that passed in 2000, and that was a joint endeavor. The Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan was a joint endeavor by the U.S. government and the state of Florida. And
50-50, wasn't it?
50-50. We are billions ahead of them, especially with what we're doing this year. Almost $1 billion is going into it.
Well, I'm very thankful that you and everybody in our legislature, our governor, are supportive of our waterways. And, it's so greatly disappointing that our federal partners have fallen behind and have not provided what they promised 22 years ago.
Yes, 22 years ago.
This is our lifeblood. And,
Yes.
If we don't take care of it, we're in really big trouble here. We've already had some serious health issues here on the Treasure Coast because of our water issues. And I want to say something because we do have so many new people that have come here to the area. Up north, septic systems are pretty prevalent. But you have to understand, in Florida, our water table is right below the surface.
Yes.
It's
dig down 2 feet and you'll find
exactly. Up north, I know our well was 60 feet down. It was a long ways different from where your septic tank would lie. It's different here. The septic tanks are very harmful. It's no joke. I lived on a street previously where the rains would come, the tide was high, the streets would flood, and guess what else flooded? All of our septic tanks.
Yes.
Then it ran back into the river. What do we think's happening? It's going into the river. So having money to convert to sewer is so important, especially for waterfront homes.
Yes, anyone on the water needs to do that. I was so delighted, back in, I think it was about 2003 or 4, we were able to do that in North River Shores. And, I've gotten money for Souls Point to go down that road.
Yes.
At times they've been a little reluctant, but they're finally hopefully getting that done. And we really want to make sure that that we do that. There is a role for septic tanks. There's no doubt about it. And we do have some very advanced septic tanks. But if you're on the water, if you're near the water, our primary responsibility has to be that we're taking care of our environment. And that lifeblood, as you said, of the Treasure Coast is our water.
Right. And as you've been an elected official, there have been a lot of improvements since 2000 with our waterways, with legislation, and of course with funding. And this is what's so key. And some projects have actually finished now.
Yes.
For so many years we kept saying there's projects out there, but they got to finish. And the C-44 is one of those projects.
Yes, a classic example. Now I started working on that, I can't tell you, 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
And it takes time.
It does.
And without that guaranteed funding source, we had to fight every year, and it was fits and starts. You might get the funding this year, not next year.
Right.
So you don't know. Now we have the guaranteed funding source.
Or change in leadership that all of a sudden changes plans completely.
Correct. That happens too.
I want to go back to remeanderizing here for a second. For folks that are new to the area, what do you mean by that with the Semi River?
Oh, back in the 70s, the state of Florida decided that they wanted to do basically an interior waterway. We're in the height of the Cold War. They want to be able to take goods all the way up, from the West Coast, the East Coast, all the way up through the center part of the state. So they channelized the Kissimmee River. And they basically made it a straight shoot down into Lake Okeechobee. The problem, of course, is when you have a river that kind of floods and ebbs and circles
and
around,
turns
twists
and-
and turns, you are cleaning the water as it goes. It filters through filtration marshes.
It goes slower.
It goes slower. It took 3 months for water to go from Orlando to Lake Okeechobee. At the end of the channelizing of the Kissimmee, it took 3 days. Boom. And all this phosphorus.
3 months to 3 days.
All this phosphorus, all this junk.
Nitrogen and everything.
Straight shot into Lake Okeechobee. By re-meanderizing, and that's my own word.
I like
created.
it. It puts a picture in my mind, and it's perfect.
And we are now, and that's finished now, just about. We are again returning to nature and the natural flow of the river that allows the cleaning of the water in order to make sure that when it gets to Lake Okeechobee, it's not laden with all kinds of phosphorus and nitrogen and debris and things that are really going to be very harmful to the lake.
Especially when it gets to the lake, and then it gets discharged over here and to the west as well.
Yes, the Caloosahatchee as well.
So this is really helping a lot of people in the state when you think about the west side, the east side,
very much so.
Orlando south down to the Kissimmee. So that was a huge project. And
also a main thing people need to understand is that water is liquid gold.
oh yes,
You cannot live without water.
No.
And as our population is growing, we have got to be prepared for that. And you have to have that resource. You have to have water. Think of Orlando now versus 1970.
right. Like I said, Disney opened in 71. So
Yes.
think about that, 70.
Think about that. So think of the water that is necessary. And that's why it is so important we have that infrastructure. We are preserving that water. We're storing that water for future use.
This is perfect. So many great updates, and we have just about 3.5 minutes. I also want to touch on education because
Yes.
I know that's very important to you and one of your personal passions.
Yes, and I am so delighted again with our budget in education. We have put huge resources into education, and we have upped the amount for each district significantly by 4.5%, I believe, in that range. We also really making an emphasis on our teachers. We put 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I can't remember exactly when, we made a base salary for teachers at $47,500.
Okay.
And there was a big question about compression because we had senior teachers who were not getting commensurate increases. So we've put significant resources this time into that compression element so that we are able to increase salaries for teachers who have been with us a while.
That is great news. It really is. It's something that everybody was complaining about at one
Yes.
point. It seemed like
Yes.
just a year or two ago. It's,
Yes.
our teachers they're so important to our children, and the pay,
Absolutely.
they could hardly afford to live without 2 jobs. So there needed to be something done. And again, the legislature heard, the governor heard, picked up that problem and gave us some more money.
Yes, absolutely. It's very, very important.
And the money, so students that go to charter schools, it still follows them, right? No matter
Yes.
if as long as it's a tax supported school.
Yes, charter schools are public schools. Now,
Yes.
each district can withhold 5% per student for administration of the dollars.
Okay.
I think it's 3 to 5%.
Okay.
But those dollars follow the student.
Very,
Yeah,
very
FTE,
important. Yes, absolutely. And we have some wonderful things happening here in the county with another charter school going out by Indiantown for technical
Yes.
trades.
Oh, and please, Governor DeSantis, do not veto that.
no, please don't.
Please, I would ask your listeners to write to the governor, email
Yes.
the governor. We want to make sure we keep that in the budget. We have a good chunk of money for a charter school that is really going to focus on workforce.
It's so important right now. I mean, the trades it's really tough, and no matter
Yes.
what it is, if it's air conditioning, electrical, marine mechanics, there's so many things that people, when you call somebody up, it's hard to find somebody. So that's exciting right here in Martin
Yes,
County.
I'm so delighted, and I just love Indiantown, and this is going to be, it will draw from the whole county and maybe even St. Lucie County.
It will. And this is wonderful. And again, it's wonderful here. Martin County, we're one of the smaller counties population-wise, but we have a lot of wonderful things that are happening here.
A lot of wonderful things going on. I wouldn't live anywhere else. The Treasure Coast is it.
Well,
We are so blessed.
Senator Gayle Harrell, it has been such a pleasure to have you here in the studio again. I know you're running, you're very busy, and now you're going to have another special session.
Yes.
You know, this is a long trip up to Tallahassee. I think it's about a 6-hour drive.
Yes,
so,
at least.
But it's your second home, and we'll be excited to hear what happens there with the changes. And next week, I hope everybody can tune in. We're going to have Republican and their Conservatives for Climate Change.
Thank you so much. Delighted to be here.
Thank you, Senator Harrell. Have a good one.